In this tutorial, I'm going to show to you how to use a utilities construction module to generate your own construction areas inside of your missions. First, you obviously need to decide what you're going to build, and for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to build a pipeline that exits this complex here in Pakistan. We're going to have a pipe that exits from the ground around here and follows the streets for a little bit. Not too much, not very complex. So let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is to build our pipeline in the way we want it to be once the construction is over. So I selected these industrial pipes here, which are under Structure Altus Utilities, and I'm going to put them on the ground. So the first one is the industrial pipe that comes out of the ground. I'm going to align it a little bit with the streets and round it up. And then some industrial pipe of 20 meters here. And then need to line them up. Let's see. So I need to complete this work, and to do that I have absolutely no issues in raising the necessary items up so that they line up like this. But the important thing is that since now we start already naming our pipe correctly, every pipe needs to have like a prefix name. The one I'm going to be using is UCM_piece_0. So this is going to be our prefix name, UCM piece, and this is going to be the gradual sequential number of all the pipeline pieces. This tells the engine in which order to build the pipes. So this was a 0, so my next piece here is going to be a 1. Now, the nice thing is that if I copy this, the ARMA engine will already name this correctly, so I can keep on going like that. I'm just going to go ahead and add a couple of pipes, line them up a little bit better, and then we'll proceed. Okay, so here is our complete pipeline. As you see, it's composed of 4 different pieces, all named correctly, UCM piece 0, 1, 2, and 3. And this is obviously a very small pipeline, but you can consider, making them really big, like even 100, 200 pieces, especially if you are on persistent servers like live. Alright, so this completes the first part. Let's move to the second one. The construction will only advance if both workers and materials are available in the construction area. So we need a way for the workers and the materials to be delivered somewhere so that then you can bring them to the pipeline. And your contact point is going to be a foreman. And we're going to put the foreman here in this space because both the materials and the workers will be delivered by helicopter. So let's go ahead and put a foreman in. So here he is. I've put in my foreman. It's just a civilian because I don't want him to be attacked by anybody, and then some additional things just for your viewing pleasure. A couple of things that I want to do with this foreman are, well, first of all, I want to make him able to stay alive at any given time, so I'm going to change the states and disable the damage. Also, I don't want him to move, so a good thing is to initialize him and set that we want to disable the AI move. And another thing that we can do is to set the group's behavior to careless. So this will make our foreman always stand still, and if anybody shoots at him, nothing will happen. The foreman is our main contact point, and you can interact with him to request new workers and to request new materials. We are done setting down objects on the map, and we can now move on and set up the modules. So let's go to System, Modules. Under the Utilities Construction mod here, we first want to bring in the UCM logic. This is the first and most important module of the whole system. If you open it up, you see that there are a lot of different options. We're going to go through them later on. But for now, what we need to specify here is a landing zone. So this is where we want our materials and our workers to be delivered. So I'm going to set up this module here, UCM landing zone, somewhere around here, and I'm going to sync it to the UCM logic module. I also want to have like an helicopter origin, specify where my helicopters come from. So I'm going to bring this also in the map and synchronize it to UCM logic, and obviously move this module a little further away because that's where our helicopters are going to come from. So just for the sake of this demo, I'm going to put it there, not too far. We can now start to set up our UCM logic module in the way that we want our construction to behave. So if we double click on it, we see here that there are some options that we saw before, but the first things that we want to do is ensure that the variables that we've used have a correct name. So you see here that the prefix name of a pieces is UCM underscore piece underscore, which corresponds to the prefix that we have used in our industrial pipes here, as you can see here on the left. The other name that we want to set up, but we haven't set up yet, is the Foreman. So this UCM Foreman here is a variable name. It is configurable also, but I'm just going to stick with it and ensure that my Foreman is called with this name. So UCM Foreman becomes the variable name of my Foreman. Let's examine the other options now. The first one is side. This is the side you want your workers to be on. So for example, if your workers are on blue 4 side, then obviously they will be attacked by op4 unless you've changed the side hostility, obviously. If you want your workers not to be attacked by anyone, you can set them to be civilian, etc. I'm going to leave this as blue 4 for now. The workers count is obviously the number of maximum workers that you want to have. So if, for instance, you have one of your workers killed, then you can request new workers, but only the missing workers will be sent to you. So for example, if you have like 2 workers killed and you're down to 1 worker on the map, you can request new workers, but only 2 will be delivered to you. The max seconds per piece is a very important option too. It sets the number of seconds that a piece requires to be completed. This is a total, which means that it's a total that needs to be divided by the number of workers count to have a real life time. So for example, in this default setting we have 1800s. Just to decrease this value, also for the sake of a demo, I'm just gonna make it 180 seconds, which corresponds to 3 minutes. But since we have 3 workers, 180 divided by 3 is a minute, so 60 seconds. So this is the real time that a piece will take to be finished. This obviously is only true if all of the 3 workers are in the construction area and the materials are also in the construction area. So if your workers are killed and only 1 remains, then all of the 180 seconds will be needed to complete the piece. This setting specifies the number of pieces that can be built from a single material unit. In this case it is 3. It means that for every material that gets delivered to you and that you bring along into the construction area, then that material will be gradually consumed until it's finished, obviously, and out of that material 3 pieces can be built. We saw this one already, and now we can get into some fun settings here. Let me move over to the construction area to demonstrate this value here. This settings relates to an animation that we use during the construction. The animation is the fact that your pipe will start from a lower position and start raising until it gets to the original position back. And that's when your pipe piece will be considered to be completed. In this case, I've started working a little bit with the pipes, and I can see that if I decrease this value to 0.6, it looks as if it was on the ground. You see that? So that's a very neat position to start your piece construction. So when the piece appears on your map, it will appear as this, and then will gradually raise until it comes back to its original position, which is in this case is a Z position of 0. It just gives the illusion that your pipe is gradually being built until it reaches its final position. So that's what this setting is for. So you see that the piece starting position Z will be minus 0.6 and then raise to be whatever the original value was. The next setting specifies the materials class. In this case, by default, it's land iron pipes F. If we go and look what this is here in the browser, we're going to see that it's just this iron pipe here object. So These are the objects that will be parachuted to you with the helicopters, and the objects that need to be brought here in the construction area together with the workers for this pipeline to be built. Likewise, if we go back to the module here, there is a material end position here, which is minus 1.4. And the only difference is that the pipes here will start from the ground and then raise up until the position is the right one. Vice versa, the pipes will be gradually consumed and like sink on the ground to give the illusion that they're being consumed. So for example, if here I was to put something like minus 1, you see that, well, that's maybe a little too much, but just for the sake of it, if I put minus 0.06, it looks as if the pipes are being consumed and there are less of them. So it just gives an animation illusion that the pipes are getting consumed to bring up the pipeline. So this is what this settings are for. And this is the material end position, so that when your materials have been completely consumed. In this case it's minus 1.4, which is basically right about when this material just disappears under the ground. You can get rid of it because we don't need it. The next setting is the material's weight, and in this case is 16. The material's weight is defined in the way that ACE defines it, so ACE cargo. Every truck and every place you can actually, put a material in has a weight. So if it's a weight of 1, it's probably just a wheel. If you want it to be bigger, you can just change this number. In this case, it's 16, which means that you need to have a big truck to transport these materials. You cannot just put them on any random civilian truck. You would probably need to use something like an HEMTT. The working distance is the number of meters that both the workers and the materials need to be in around the current working pipe for the construction area's work to proceed. So if, for example, your workers are outside of this area or your materials are all outside of this area, then the construction will not proceed. If they are inside, then everything will just work automatically. We have seen this variable already, which is the variable name of a foreman. And the last setting here is the helicopter class. So you will have the materials and the workers delivered to you by helicopter. And here you can specify the class of the helicopter that transports everything to you. So with this done, we are actually ready to go. Like everything is ready and we can have a very quick demo. To do that, I'm going to bring in a couple of things. I'm going to have like a HEMTT container somewhere around here. I'm going to take away the people that are inside of this one. And also I'm going to put in like a crawler. This one is to transport the workers. And finally, I will need to be in this map somehow, so I'm going to be just an ammo bearer right here. We can now play the scenario. As you can see, I can just approach my foreman, and then using ACE interactions I can request a status, and as you see, the status is not in progress, the total progress is 0%, etc. I can start requesting materials to him, and by doing so my helicopter will spawn where we set it up to spawn, which is like the helicopter origin, and a material will be delivered to us. We can now go and grab this material and load it on the truck. I can load these materials by using ACE interaction on the materials and load them on the HEMTT container. The speed of the loading operation depends on the weight. In this case, 16. Now that materials are in the cargo, I can get back in the HEMTT, and if we look at the map, we can see that the construction area, the current construction area, is indicated here. So we just have to drive there. So here we are. We're just approaching the construction area, and we can go ahead and deliver those materials. As you can see, the engine has already proceeded to hide all of your pipeline, and only one piece is left. And as you can see, the piece is lowered on the ground. It's not in its final position. So I can go ahead and use ace interactions again on cargo and unload the iron pipes. Alright, the pipes have been unloaded. They're here. And I can go back to the base to bring in the workers. I can now get back to my foreman and request some additional workers. As I did before, using ace interactions, I can look at the status now, and I can see that there are materials, there are 100% of them, 1 of 1 in the area. And I can ask for additional workers now. As before, my helicopter will spawn where I told him to do so. It will land around here, and 3 workers will get out of the helicopter, ready to be transported to the working area. Once the worker have settled, I can go and approach them, and with ace interactions I can tell them to move to a vehicle. In this case I want them to go to the prowler, and I have to do this on every single worker, of course. And as you can see, they get on the vehicle, waiting for me. Now that the workers are on the prowler, I can take them to the construction area. We're here, the construction area is there. Let's go. I can now get out of my vehicle, and using ace interactions as before, on passengers, I can tell them to exit the vehicle. As you can see, since both the workers and the materials are on area, the construction work is now ongoing. They will automatically move closer to the pipeline, and this is because they are, and the materials are, closer than the 75 meters that we set up in our module. And here you can see the animation. You can see that the pipe is moving up while they're working. Remember that we said like 180 seconds, which it's a very low time, so obviously this should be longer and less appearing. Once they're finished with this pipe portion, you will see 2 things. First of all, the next piece will appear here, and secondly, the iron pipes here will get consumed and they will get lowered down. See that? So the pipes have been decreased a little bit because they have been consumed, and here you can see that the new pipe piece has been brought up, and now the workers are moving next to the piece and start working on that one. If one of the workers were to get killed, you would see the warning, and you will see that the construction actually proceeds slower. You can also interact with a single worker and request a status. And you see that the construction is in progress, that we are 25% done. The current piece progress is 89%. There are 2 out of 3 workers in the map, 2 of which are in the area, and the materials are at 67%. Alright, this is all you need to know. Hope you enjoy your construction mod.